Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a good day today. I've had several people contact me regarding the final project. So it's a little early. I don't usually start talking about the final project in week 11, but since you guys are asking, I think it's fair for me to share information. It just means that you're wanting to get started early. So let's talk about our final project. It's a two-part project. It will have a course design. A 4 week is usually what I plan to do, which would be like a unit course design, and then a pedagogical response. And I'm going to explain what those two things are as we talk here in a little bit. So what happens for the rest of our class right now is we have a couple more regular weeks where we're responding to texts that we're finding within the classroom. And then after that, we have a break. And then we end up having the last 2 weeks of the course, which are really designated for you to work on your course design and to set up 15-minute consultations with me. So I'm going to be available during those 2 weeks for you to email me, and we can set up a Zoom chat and we can talk about your individual project. So this is just a video to get you to start thinking about what your final could look like. So let's talk about the course design first. So your course design should be geared towards a reading and writing classroom, but that classroom is going to look different depending upon the grade level that you're interested in teaching, and a lot of other variables. So the first thing that's really important that you need to do is to start thinking about what grade are you thinking about teaching? So for some of you, you're going to be working with the littles, kindergarten, first, and up to, sixth grade. And it's different when you're thinking about planning, reading, and writing for your multiple subject classes than if you are thinking about a single subject class for high school or even possibly junior high. And then some of you may be thinking about teaching adults instead of children. So if we're thinking about the teaching practices of children, we're using a word called pedagogy. And that's as simple as that is. It's just thinking about what practices you use to teach in the classroom. When you're thinking of children, it's called pedagogical or pedagogy. When you're thinking about adults, so if you're thinking about teaching junior high, I'm sorry, I didn't mean junior high, junior college is what I meant to say, or college, then you're thinking about andragogy, you're thinking about teaching adults. So when you see those two words, that's what they mean. And so they're really quite simple, actually. But you have a pedagogical response or andragogical response, which we'll talk about. And then you're going to think about the course design. So going back to the course design, we're thinking of a 4-week unit. So if you're thinking about college, that's usually a quarter, 4 weeks is a quarter of a class. If you're thinking of a regular course, like we have a semester course, or if you're thinking about elementary school, it's still 4 weeks. You want to think about a chunk of curriculum that you want to build. If you're working with the littles and you're working in multiple subject, you might want to think about how to package the reading and writing. So reading and writing just presented as standalone assignments isn't really as valuable to students as if you're thinking about maybe theming the information, where you can do bring in different subjects into your 4-week plan. So for example, I have had a student before who did a unit on butterflies for first graders. And so they would read a book, and their book was Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar. And then they would have different assignments that would be attached to that reading. For example, there was an art project of drawing a butterfly. There was a science project where they would go out and look for butterflies. So there can be different disciplines attached to that themed curriculum design. So that's one way to think about it if you're thinking about the little ones. If you're thinking high school, or junior high, you have a different level of experience that you can draw on with your students. So you might want to pick a book or pick the reading and then build the assignments out of the reading. That would be more strictly geared towards reading and writing practices. So for example, with my dystopian, right? That's a theme. You could still go down the theme road and you could pick a dystopian novel, and then you could pick different assignments that you would think would be valuable for students to learn and attach them to that reading and writing portion of the class that they're working with. So that's another way to think about it. So theming is really a good way to think about building curriculum design. Because you want to scaffold the design. And what that means is you want it to build. So when you're thinking about reading and writing, you want to have different things that they can do to build their skill sets, right? So even with Hungry Hungry Caterpillar, for example, with the little ones, you could practice sight words, or you could practice alphabet, right, with different words and attaching it back to the Hungry Hungry Caterpillar. There's an apple there, and that kind of makes sense if you think about working with familiarity of the alphabet. And you really do want to think about standards. So it's super important that you go back and look at the standards for that grade that you're building your curriculum design. And those standards should show up somewhere within your design. I'm not necessarily convinced that they have to be for every assignment that you're putting in, but you definitely need to have them attached to the 4-week design, so that you can really get a feel for what does that grade need, and what am I required to provide them with. And it's very different depending upon the grade level that you're in. So you can look those up yourself. California Department of Standards, their public information that you can go onto their website, and you can pull those standards and go ahead and you want to utilize them within your course design. As far as the course design is concerned, what format do I want it in? And I don't force you into a format. That will happen. There'll be a lot of classes that will give you a spreadsheet or a worksheet, and they'll have you plop in ideas. I really don't want to go down that road yet with you. I'd like you to live in the fantasy land of creativity at this point, dreaming about the classroom, not necessarily building curriculum based upon what what somebody is thinking works. I'd like you to think about what you think would work, and you will not get this completely correct. And I'm not worried about correctness. I'm worried about that dreaming of your classroom moment, right? Of what you think you can offer your students. So I'm not really expecting it in any particular form. I've seen it in many forms over the years. You see that I like to work with Wix. I use a website to get my curriculum design out. Some people use Excel spreadsheets. Some people use Word documents. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Prezi, I've seen Prezis, I've seen PowerPoints. They all can work, but those elements should be there. That 4-week design, there should be reading, and reading within it. You should have some type of reading events, right? Books, materials. There should be assignments to help facilitate the writing practice, right? So, and it should be connected. The ideas should be connected to one another. I'm not expecting every minute of this 4-week design to be fleshed out within your class. So I'm not really looking for you to say, I've got a 3rd grade class and I'm there from 8 to 3, and every minute of the day, this is the thing that I'm doing. I'm looking more for how the pieces move together, and there could be a lot of holes in your design because you may not be completely ready to fill that out. What I'm hoping is that eventually you can take this design and then you can keep adding to it as you continue on your educational process and you think about how to design curriculum. So that's really the pedagogical, that's really the course design. And then the pedagogical or andragogical response, depending on if you're working with kids or adults, is you telling me how the class readings and what we did in class informed your design. So it's a Word document. It should be a couple pages long at least, and it should use the material from our class, the readings that tell me how they informed your design. Excuse me. So for example, maybe you're going to do group work in your course design, and then you want to go back and give a nod to Kakari, right? We just want to work with our friends. Or maybe you're doing a high school class and they're getting to choose their research project, and you want to go back to theoretical foundations and the idea of choice. So there's lots of different ways that you can think about how the course design that you make relates to the information of our course. And that's the pedagogical response or andragogical response, depending on what you're working on. And it should have a works cited or a reference page. You should be referencing material. And both of those are going to be due the final day of class, which is Friday by 5 p.m. Again, you're going to have some time to share this information with me. So this is hopefully going to get you started in thinking. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.